you all doing? It's Thursday evening here in the UK and my husband is putting the kids to bed. Yes! And I want to talk to you about relationships, if that's okay. Relationships. So, relationships in 2019 are totally different than they used to be. You didn't have thousands of people at your fingertips who you could just turn to for appreciation when a relationship that you might be in might have broken down. And now, though, after you've had an argument, you can pick up your smartphone or your iPad and swipe through thousands and thousands of apparently flawless filtered faces that might just live just round the corner from you and are just one message away from supposedly giving you exactly what you've always been looking for. Sorry if I sound sarcastic, but social media relationships look perfect with their lovey-dovey posts about being with my best friend and the cute selfies and the romantic anniversary pictures. We've all done them, and those might be real, but there are lots out there that are not real. And we see these things, but you never actually see the reality, the arguments, the conflict, and the difficulties that all of those other relationships have. So our expectations change because we naturally start comparing our relationship to this online standard of a relationship. So not meeting expecting standards sounds a little bit like my school report card in every school that I went to. But it's allegedly the biggest reason for breakups of relationships in 2009 so far. And the problem is social media is making the expectations unrealistic. And there's a difference between what you expect and what you get. So you end up feeling unsatisfied and frustrated. And these unmet realistic expectations in a new social media world where people are now walking out of perfectly good relationships, they're searching for like a fairy tale relationship that doesn't actually exist, and they'll never find it. Do you know what I mean? You know what I'm talking about, right? So social media makes things appear perfect. And years ago, in relationships, we expected problems. Years ago, we knew we had to communicate. And maybe that didn't happen all the time. And we tried to fix it, though. We stuck around and hung out and tried to fix it. But today, if a relationship faces a challenge, it can be like I just met the wrong person. And they blame that person for not meeting their expectations. So listen, society tells us to get a degree at 18, get a job at 21, fall in love by 25 and buy a house by 30, have kids at 35 and then retire at like 60. And I certainly don't fit that timeline. I had no degree at 18 and I was married by 27 and divorced by 30 and then remarried at 34. And guess what? Not only was my first marriage a complete and utter failure on his part, but there have been various times, and he won't mind me telling you this, various times that my second husband has got right on my tits and has not met my expectations. And we laugh and joke about how we need to train them up, get them to cook, to do the washing or clean the toilets to my very high expectation I have for toilets. But they push your buttons too. Jerry embarrasses me when he has 1 or 2 or 3 too many Chardonnays. But what about me? I am not perfect in all of this. And when I was in the middle of my postnatal depression and in the darkness of the anxiety, it's not me that I took the anger out on. It was him. So I set these ridiculous standards that meant he couldn't meet my standards. And there was me, all high and mighty, thinking, oh, I'm all right, Jack. But actually, what I was doing by setting these high standards was pushing him further and further away until I actually did tell him it would be best for us to break up and split up the kids. And I can't actually believe that I said that to him those years ago. And thinking back to that time and talking about it now helps me realise that I am so grateful that he fought for me. I am glad he made me realise that we were worth saving. even with all the shit bits and the blips. But it was my anxieties that were making me see things in a warped way. And we have blips like everyone. And to be honest, I actually put my blips on Facebook. And that's because I'm real. I tell you about them. In fact, one day, quite a few years ago, I placed an ad for him on the Facebook marketplace in the UK. I said he was free to the buyer and they must collect, but he unfortunately didn't sell. But it gained over 1,000 humorous comments, mostly from other women who had at one stage in their lives all felt the same pain as I was having with a partner who wasn't helping around the house, wasn't helping with the baby, didn't get up in the middle of the night, couldn't read my mind. So what I post is the good, the bad, and the ugly, because I know that helps others. It helps you to know that what you are going through is not abnormal. Those good days and the blip days are what we all experience. But people like to make you think they are living in this real life fairy tale and only show you the fluffy bits. So those of you who yearn for that fairy tale perfect relationship with this fairy tale timeline of events of what society says you should be doing and when you should be doing it, okay? That can really make you feel scared of being alone. Think of how you felt though, or feel when you're happily solo. You feel free and content and confident. Now think of how you feel when you've just fallen for somebody and you've got in love, you become in love. Totally and utterly happy, butterflies, excited. But when you're with the wrong person, you don't feel any of those things. Instead, you feel lonely. It's like a super specific sense of loneliness too, because you're not technically alone, yet that's how it makes you feel. It makes you feel worse, much worse than actually being single and alone. Look, I don't want to go off on a tangent, but if you are in a relationship now and you are watching this with a person who is incapable of like considering your feelings, they deny you their personal thoughts, or is like hypersensitive to what other people think about them, and they're hypersensitive about what people think about their intelligence. You may be sharing your life with a narcissist. Norris the narcissist. In the extreme case of this, okay, the person may be completely so self-absorbed and only thinks of how the situation might affect them. And if you're with someone who fits this awful profile and you've had continual arguments without resolving any of them, then you might have the sudden realization that you have lost control of your life. So please, 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 going off at a tangent now, but consider leaving this person and regain your sense of self and worth, because you are awesome. Now, back to those who are in a relationship that's not narcissistic, but whether it's long-term or just starting out, both of you should work at your relationship and not look for whether it's either perfect or wrong. And always keep it fresh, because the women can do this and the men, and the ones that do this have the most happiest, most successful and longest relationships. And they try and avoid complacency and the conflict and the mental torture, and they try to communicate effectively. And they know they have to compromise. So I'm not saying for 1 minute that your partner gets away with anything here. But what I'm saying is, don't overthink things. Don't analyze things. Ask them what they mean when they've said something. You both have to keep it fresh. Both have to work at it. Both have to compromise. Find common ground. Okay, does that make sense to everybody? Does that make sense? I hope so. Okay. Now, the last thing I want to leave you with here is I'm just trying to look for something on my computer, because I found this word of wisdom for you all, okay? And it's absolutely brilliant, but I just got to find it for you. Okay, here it is. Here it is. Okay, it says, a relationship, I thought this was brilliant. I can't say it's my own. A relationship is like a house. When a light bulb burns out, you don't buy a new house. You fix the bloody light bulb. I love that. I thought that was great. So that's not my words of wisdom, but I found that online. I thought that was really good. So it takes a strong woman, okay, women. It takes a strong woman to make a relationship work. and it's if it's worth saving as well, because if both of you care enough about the other person, you need to find a way to make it work. Okay, but it also takes a strong woman to leave as well, when you know that you've come up against enough barriers and you've tried to make it work, and you've tried the compromising resolutions, you've tried all that. It's a strong woman that also makes the decision to leave and be alone. So whichever situation you're in, be strong. And the last thing I want to say is actually a question. I'd really like to know where you are in your relationships. I've shared my story, and, you know, mine's not perfect by any means, but where are you in your relationship? And what are you thankful for in your relationship? And if you're not thankful, why is that? And if you can share, if you want to share a video, that'd be great, but I know that's hard. So, you know, add a comment to this video. I'd absolutely love, love, love to hear from you. And have a great evening. I love you all. Mwah!